Hello, Courtney.
I I'm so excited to be on here with you again.
I know we had such a good time the first two times. I think you were
It's
on a
too,
couple
yeah.
times, right?
Mhm.
hmm So I adore Courtney, as you may remember. And I just always just love how we connected. And it seemed like we just became fast friends through my book, which um, still tickles me when I think about it. And Courtney has been using my book and reading my book for many years. And that always makes me feel extremely good as an author. How are you, Courtney? Courtney, author Courtney, together?
One day, maybe,
Yes.
hopefully. No, I'm so good. And yeah, like, I don't know. I always have to like pinch myself at the fact that I am able to be in your presence. Like, we are friends, of course, but I just never forget the fact that like I manifested. I was like, I'm going to know her one day. Like,
Yeah.
who is this excellence? And so I never take that for granted every single minute. Like maybe this version of me now is friends with you, but there's still a version of me who's like, "Oh, this is the wisest person in the land." And so I'm so grateful to know you and so grateful for your work.
So, like, I had the thought the other day. I was like, "Oh, what if Courtney's attraction towards me loses her luster and she's like moving on to other things?" And I'm like, "Oh, that would suck." And why your mind, like, didn't intentionally think this, but it just shows you how much I appreciate you, and just our connection and the fact of connecting through my work feels really profoundly important for me, since I've been having some mm, returns and reintegration and kind of figuring out my own way again with that. So I think that's
Right.
that's
Well,
that's why. hmm
just so you know, that will never happen. Like
I,
in in not even in another lifetime, but definitely not this lifetime. Like that could never happen. I don't have like a ton of nostalgia places in my chart, but like I don't know, my Pisces Venus
yeah.
can't not love you. Like that book changed my life. You changed my life as my friend. So that will, you guys, if you ever get the opportunity to meet her, you'll know that was a silly thought. But all thoughts are, they lead us into something. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of your imaginations.
It was. It was. So Courtney is a really talented, intuitive, psychic for sure, card reader, and most recently, I've discovered like just becoming this amazing astrologer. And so that's one of the things we're going to talk about today is a shift. These two major shifts, especially with Uranus entering Gemini this past weekend, and then Neptune entering Aries, and we'll tell you why they're such profound shifts and what they mean. And I'm really excited to talk with somebody who I really admire. We've had a little bit of conversation about at least Neptune, so that was really fun. Gave me the idea for this, but I figured we'd just get going with some warm up questions, if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
And you can bounce them right back to me if you want, or we can keep going. I'm just trying to change up the format in true Uranus and Gemini style. So just going with the changes in the world where we're all kind of adapting to experimenting and trying new things. So this is the new thing. Here's a question for you, Courtney. Do you have a boundary that's really been helping you lately?
So this is actually a really funny thing that you're asking me. If you watch my Instagram story from today, it was about boundaries. So last year I did realize that I needed to implement more boundaries into my life. And that was just, I thought I needed to place boundaries on other people. And that really put me in this weird place of lack, right? Like, let
Mm,
me put a boundary, let me put a wall up, let me put, like, this will make you respect me because I was giving too much. Like, I was
mhm.
too open and I was giving too much. So I was like, I'm going to put boundaries on other people. And what I actually realized today, and I've been doing this, I need a boundary myself. It's not about other people, it's having the boundaries within myself.
Yep.
So this is really embarrassing, but I just don't care. Like, I found that I had no boundaries within my own self care practice. I had no, like, there was a night, for instance, and I was super tired, and I really wasn't that tired, but I was like, you don't need to brush your teeth. It's fine. Just go to sleep. And I was like, no, sister, get up and love yourself. That is, like, no offense to people if you don't brush your teeth at night, but like for me, like, I was like, that is, you deserve to have your teeth brushed,
Mhm.
right? And so the boundary that I have in place is not with other people anymore because I thought that was going to be the answer. But the boundary lately is within myself and my own practices. No, it's not about these other people, it's within you. You need to put
Absolutely.
you first and take care of you first and make sure you're good first. And then you could look at other people. But I thought it was this external thing of like a
Mm,
gate, like, no, you can't get to me. And it's like, no, 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 don't let
mm,
me neglect me. Is kind of
mm.
is that a boundary, would you think? But that's kind of what's came up for me today.
That's a self boundary. That's an internal boundary that you can hold. Yeah, because if you're saying that other people need to have boundaries for you, that puts you in a defensive position. Like you said, in a position of lack. So you're in a defensive position where you're never really in control of whether that happens, right?
Right.
If you're relying on them and their good nature and their remembrance of you saying this, 3 weeks ago, it's really going to be destined for
Failure.
people walking right over your boundaries
Right.
because they're
But
not
you
your
were
boundaries. They're really not. So like I love like that external versus internal conversation because always feels like it's really rich when those core principles come up to me because it kind of essentializes things. Is this boundary relying on an external person or thing to happen? Well, that's not a boundary.
Yeah.
That's not that's relying on the whims of fate. Is this boundary relying on an internal gatekeeper? That's a boundary,
Right.
right?
I'm new to this, so Jessica is my introduction to boundaries, just so you guys know. I didn't know much about them until I met her, and so it's really something that I'm newly figuring out. They're deeply necessary, and like implementing even these fake ones or whatever was going on
Mhm.
before did really help
Yeah.
me just know my self-worth. But because you are the queen of boundaries, what are you doing right now? Is there a new one that you've implemented?
Boundary ninja, I've been called. It's only because I've been walked all over so many times and went through the trial and error process like you're going through. Like, okay, what are boundaries? It's like kind of learning how to play with blocks. Like, what can these do? What can these not do? I mean, what you've been through is like so important to understanding their value, right? And how to do it. So yeah, so for me, boundaries have just become, oh God, I mean, if you would have asked me this question, you know, 10, 20 years ago, I remember when I was giving a book talk on my book Venus Signs, and one of the people attending the talk, she said, okay, so when's your book on Mars coming out? And I was like, I laughed uncomfortably and I was like, why would I want to write a book about Mars? Yikes. So that was my shadow. Like Mars is the planet that rules boundaries. It's that aspect in us that can stand up for what it is we want, need, and desire on those deep levels. And that, of course, requires inner listening. But it comes from this place of being comfortable enough with our ferocity, with our self importance, with our right to exist, with knowing ourselves, our emotional needs, all of these things just take time to develop too. So I don't think it's a easy process, this whole boundary gathering. But I think that um, I'm not, I would say that like one of my most important boundaries that I consistently hold, and I probably have so many of them, but is that, and then I couldn't function without this one, is that I do not entertain the external world in any form, phone, computer, um, nothing outside of my house, nothing on technology until after I've done my energy practice, which is like a meditation and my Qigong. Because that, if I'm meeting external energy before I've given myself a chance to meet my own energy, I'm all over the place. I don't even know what I want. I don't know how I feel. And so I've learned through trial and error that this has to be a hard boundary for me. And so I'm at the point where I don't even question it. And I have these little temptations because we can be tricky. I'll like the toothbrush thing. I'll like, no, I'm okay today. I'm solid. I don't need to do this. I really want to check my phone. I wonder if that person wrote me back. And I'll have these moments and I'll violate my own boundary, right? I'll just walk right over it and then I'll absorb an energy, or I'll find myself going into my practice with all these thoughts that I wouldn't have had before, that I have to like suddenly ruminate through, clear. It's like layers have just been added on. So that is such a primary self-care boundary, speaking to self-care.
What do
So
you do? Like, where do you put your phone to avoid this from happening? Like, do you just have it like next to you on your nightstand and you just have that much discipline? Or
yeah.
are you like putting it in a separate room?
Yeah. No, it's on my nightstand because I listen to audiobooks before I go to sleep. I listen to actually one single audiobook because of the author's energy and the book energy. And it's like, I can't listen to anything else. And I've listened to that thing probably like 5,000 times. So it's right next to my bed. And it's just, it hurts too much to do the other. It
So, what we
really,
need to know what the book is.
oh my God. And I'm
Winnie the
so
Pooh.
embarrassed, but Courtney told me that we're working on authenticity. So I'm going to work on authenticity and not being embarrassed about any of my peculiar habits. It's actually a Christian romance.
I mean, it sounds like
It's
it could be
called
pretty good.
it's called Sea Rose Inn. Sea Rose Inn? Sea Rose Lane, excuse me. And it's by Irene Hannon. And the narrator is my favorite narrator of all time, on Audible. What is, because I can call it right up because it never leaves. Um, she is, so it's called Sea Rose Lane by Irene Hannon, and it's narrated by Therese Plummer. And there's something about this book. I've tried to replicate it so many times. I'll buy new books and I'll return them. It's like, it's an instant sleeping pill. I just instantly relax.
Have you ever listened to it all the way through? Do you know what happens or
Oh, yeah, I know. I
oh,
know
okay.
it by heart. I
Okay.
know it by
No.
heart now.
I
I'm like,
didn't know if
okay,
it was
what is,
just putting you straight to sleep from it's like your magnesium that you take.
no, no. Sometimes I need to wind down a little more than other times. Sometimes it hits me in 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes me 30. And if it takes me 30, I know exactly what's going to be said next and who the characters are. And I mean, it's just crazy. It's,
I can relate to that though. Like
yeah,
I feel like I wouldn't say an audiobook, but like I've done that with like a movie before and I can't put
yeah.
my finger on why. Like when I was a kid, I would watch Friday Night Lights with Billy Bob Thornton. That was
Hmm.
like my bedtime movie. I don't even know if that's a good peaceful nervous system movie, but for some reason it would just
Obviously,
like
it was
soothe
for
me.
you.
Right.
Yeah. It is. It's like a nervous system regulation thing. And so it absolutely does that for me. I'm like, I often find myself pondering what is happening exactly that is allowing this to occur in this singular book after trying so many, you know, and I'm so sensitive to energy that I believe it is the narrator's voice combined with whatever she was going through at that time, because I've listened to other books of hers. It's not the same.
Mm.
combined with whatever the author was also experiencing, because this is different too. So it's just kind of this interesting amalgam.
We need to bottle that up. That sounds like a nervous system regulation.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, so one more question, one more fun warm up question. Like, what has been bringing you pleasure lately? What have you been enjoying? And I know you're gonna say going to the mountains, but I'm gonna challenge you to say something else.
I think just like being in the moment. Like
Mm,
it's really like the mountains enable me to be in the moment more and
mm,
be present more because there's like no phone service anywhere. But like I have been experiencing, and this probably is going to go into the astrology, but I've been experiencing a lot of delay lately. Like everything is stalled, everything is delayed, everything is moving slow. And I don't like that at all. Like, I'm always like, what's the next? What's the next? You know, I try not to be, but my brain is wired like that. And so that does not bring me joy at all, being
mm,
like that. That actually, whatever the opposite of joy, maybe sorrow, brings me a lot of, I don't feel good when I'm constantly on that energy. And so just
mhm,
pulling myself and like going, okay, like, this moment as it is right now, just like a river, will never be the same again.
mm,
And so the mountains and the rivers have been kind of teaching me how to slow down and how to
mm,
enjoy that exact moment in time. And there's not like a specific thing other than just feeling myself recognize when that's happening. Like today, for instance, I was getting my nails done. And for whatever reason, everybody got serviced on perfect timing. Like people would walk in and she'd just be finishing. And it was just like, whew, whew. I was there for 2.5 hours.
wow.
And I was, I could feel my force field like sending, this is embarrassing, but negative vibes like to the people, the workers, like everything, like, why am I being neglected? Like, and then I was like, why are you mad about this? Like, what do you have to do right now? What are you upset about? Your
Mm,
feet are in these pleasant, like whatever scent is in the bathtub that your feet are in, just chill. And so then I just slowed down, and it continued to happen that everybody was just showing up walk-ins in perfect time. And mine was slow, slow,
mm,
slow. And I go, oh, I'm supposed to be here right now. The burnt toast theory, who knows why, but I'm supposed to be here right now. And I could look at it like this always happens to me. Why does this always happen to me? Why am I the one that's getting neglected and pushed off? Or I could look at it, go, okay, you're getting pampered right now. Why are you in a rush to get back to work or whatever it is you have to do? So for me, just being present and in the moment and just taking a look around at what's around me and like seeing the life around me is what's actually bringing me joy. And like that's where I could just go and just start smiling, right? And just get back into that groove. That sounds really silly, but honestly, it's like no one thing. It's just like seeing other people like getting their feet tickled, like those little
mhm,
things I'm just trying to really gather right now.
yeah.
But what about you? What is bringing you joy? I'm excited to hear about this.
I love that. I mean, I just want to say too that whatever the universe is doing with you, which we can explore astrologically as well. Um, it is asking you to slow down, because when we got on our call today, and this hasn't happened with any other person, it took us 20-25 minutes to figure out how to get your mic to work, and we had to switch to the iPhone. And so, like, you are definitely having this like cosmic um, realignment around speed or something. Only you can know what it is. Like,
Right.
but
I was sitting there waiting. Like, that's what's weird is like, I was like not even rushing. I was like, okay, I don't want to rush.
yeah,
So let me be a little early. And no, it's like, no matter what I do, I'm
no
kind of
matter
being
what.
just met with these delays. And I was thinking about that while um, that was going on with
Hmm.
logging in. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and I was trying to laugh as much as I can, but I am on your time. And, I'm just like trying to be also cognizant of that. But I was like, what can you do at this point?
No
You know,
worries.
you're,
Yes.
you gotta, you gotta just let it happen, you know, because the more you resist, the more it's going to keep going.
Yeah, like, I love that always that question. What is it that I feel is so much more important to be doing, or where is it that I feel that I need to be other than in this moment? Like, I love having the wherewithal to ask that question when I'm feeling that way,
Mhm.
because that's really what it is, like, to actually have the presence, as you said, to be able to, like, track, like, "Wait a second, why would I even wanna leave this moment?" Like, rather than go into the stories and go into the angst or whatever that can be so easy to drop into when stuff like that happens, right? So, yeah, I had it not similar, but an interesting experience, perhaps related, perhaps not, but it did give me some pleasure. So I'm going to talk about it. Um, so this morning when I was doing my energy practice, um, I I have this part of my practice where I drop into my center, and I can tell when I'm really truly here, like right here, because I when I'm really truly here, there's an embodiment like around my heart. I can like it's almost like I can feel inside my chest. Like it feels solid. I feel like I've dropped into my area behind my chest, right? And I can also tell when I'm a little bit fast, like Aries moon, like you. I have that fast quality. Even when I'm looking at myself in qigong, sometimes I'll watch the videos and I'll go, look at how forward your head is. Like it's always like trying to get to the next thing.
Trying to cross the finish line.
Right? Right. And that's cardinal signs all the way. I remember Stephen Forrest once saying that like the the cardinal signs are just for like the first in the room and the first ready to leave. And it's always like that. So anyway, so I was in my practice this morning and I was noticing like, okay, I'm a little bit out of my center, but not too far. And I'm kind of like calibrating and stuff. So one of the questions or one of the mantras I do, which you may know, but it's there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, and there's no one to be. So when I'm a little bit out of my center, I start there. There's nowhere to go. And then I kind of sit with that for a sec. And then I go, there's nothing to do. And I sit with that for a sec. And there's no one to be. Well, sometimes my ego, most of the time, is like, well, of course there's something, of course there's someone to be. And the thoughts will come and it'll be like, and then oftentimes I'll just be like, yeah, that's true, but I could. But today I noticed that I had this sensation. It was so interesting that when it's like there's nowhere to go, it's like all the thoughts of where I was gonna go or where I have been, like it almost was like they're like floating through me, and it's all like, but it's more like an orb where it's like, yeah, there's nowhere to go because you've already been there and you're already gonna be there.
I
Do you
love
see that?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, deeper. I just got goosebumps when I was telling you that. And then, like, there's nothing to do. Well, of course, the ego wants to think but like, this was like, oh, you've done that already. You're going to do that already. Of course, there's nothing to do because it's all been done. It's already done. And
Right.
there's no one to be because you've already been that person and you'll continue to be this person. And that's who you are. And it was like this it was like this holographic, holistic experience. Like I don't know how to describe it. And you had like maybe like a sci-fi. Maybe it was like Neptune is squaring my sun right now. But it really allowed me to drop in a way that felt really deeply integrated and felt like cosmic. Like, yeah, I'm doing it all and I don't have to do anything,
Right.
right?
Have you
It's
ever
already
read
been
Sid-
done.
Have you ever read Siddhartha? It's by like
No.
Herman Hesse. I just
Mhm.
read it the other day. I was like, I need something. And he just that's it. We literally are like saying the same thing because that's how he describes the river, right?
Mm.
Like it's our the future is at the end of the river, the past is at that end of the river, and then here's the now, but it's already all just existing as one. And when you truly like know you create your own reality, like I know you know, right? That's the energy is
Mhm.
like, it's already been done. So, like, why can't you chill? Why can't you drop in? Why can't you just be here? Because you don't need to do anything more. It's already being, all the parts are already being put into place, you know?
And
And
this
like,
has been like, yeah, so oh, sorry to interrupt.
oh no, okay, we always do that with each other. We're so
Yeah.
excited. Go ahead though.
Ah, this has been so im I think I enjoyed that so much, this experience, because at this place in my author identity and at this place converging with the planets and the new paradigm that's being created in this world, that the old doors are closing and the new ones perhaps aren't quite there yet or are just existing in our imagination or we're creating them. And so when I've gone through that process in the back, in the past, it's like there's nowhere to go, nothing to do. It's like I would get the laundry list, right? But I'm getting like, you're absolutely right. Like it's like this different kind of validation because those old things aren't working anymore. And I don't know, there's like some wisdom coming through too. So at any rate, I feel like, it's a good segue into the shifts we're all experiencing, but just kind of maybe there are more kinds of experiences like that available to us now than ever before, you
Right.
know?
And I think too, like, did those ways ever work? Or do we just think that's what worked? Right. But like asking the question, like, did it ever work? Because it brings me back to the beginning of this conversation when you were talking about your early days of being an author and how
Mm.
here I am. Right. And it's like, it's already been done. You've already done it. There's nothing else. There's no one else you need to become. You're already her. I already know there's so many people who've read your books who already see you as
I
who
know.
the ego is telling you, no, 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 you got to become her.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? I have the chills as I'm literally saying this, like really bad.
Yeah.
But it's like, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like a really cool thing to see the beginning of this conversation and then to hear that it's like you don't need to do anything else. Like you already are
More.
that author. You like there's so many people who have read your books who I know or who are already like, that is my New York Times bestselling author. That is my whatever it is, right? Whatever the like. I'm not saying that that's what you want or not don't want. I'm just saying like there's people who are already like, what do you mean? You're if they were talking to your ego, right? They'd be
Yeah.
like, what? Like, that's who you are, right? So there
Mhm.
is nothing that you need to do. And like my thought is like, I don't know, like I always like to like think about like what was my energy when it just flowed, right? Like when it
Mhm.
just worked. Like who was I in that moment? What was I
Mhm.
doing in those moments? Those are the
Mhm.
questions that I always ask when my ego is telling me like, "Oh my god, we need to do it." And I'm not saying you're doing that right now. Your ego's actually like, "Yeah, you're right. We can chill." But like mine goes, "Oh no, you have so much to do. You're never going to get there. The gap is so high. The mountain is so high. You better keep climbing, keep fighting." And then I go, well, "Hold on a second. What was I thinking about? What was I doing when I was instead of being in the middle of the uphill, I was at the river, like able to soak my toes. Like, what was actually that feeling?" And then I try to just embody that.
Absolutely.
But I really
That's
love
a regular
that.
practice for me. That is absolutely a regular practice of returning to that when you're getting that stuck state of the flow is not happening. We'll go back to the feeling of when the flow was happening and try and recreate in your current time as best you can that experience. And it is really a feeling, right? We know this. We
Mhm.
know this. It's just really a feeling we're all chasing.
Yeah. But then you're like, oh, well, I was like, you know, on the beach with my friends. Like, I can't be on a beach with my friends right now. Like, so then your brain will tell you that you can't go back to those patterns
So
and
Michael
behaviors.
Beckwith said, and this is in my next book.
Oh, love
I
this.
remember seeing this video, and it just stuck with me so good. That he said he was walking on the beach one day, and he said, "This is how I want to feel every day in my calling."
Mm.
Boom. Okay.
Well, now you
That's that.
know.
So it's the feeling. It's like define the feeling and then just
Mhm.
keep going back to that feeling. And of course, that's always independent of what's going on. Um, so
Easier said than done, though,
easier said
right?
than done. Let's talk about what is going on. And I think that astrologically, we've got this really interesting and kind of complex way of way that reality is showing up. um, I don't know how you feel about it, but and I don't know where you want to begin with this, but I was just kind of feeling into just this most recent shift of Uranus and Gemini because it feels so fresh, right? It just happened. Uranus entered the sign of Gemini over this past weekend
Right.
at the time of this recording. So um, I know a lot of people say a lot of different things. I tend to ignore most people saying most things. That's how I
Right.
cope nowadays.
Right. I
Mhm.
mean, everything is already inside of you. So, like, why do you need to pay attention to that? Right.
But in my sensitive system, I am feeling, right? I am feeling everything happen, right? And I'm noticing things going on around me. And, regardless of whether I go place myself into the social media or what astrologers are saying, um, because I know enough to be dangerous, as they say, I'm starting to form my own assumptions just from living in this world. And so what we've had occur is Uranus, the planet called the Great Awakener, the Disruptor, the Tower card, planet of authenticity, planet of conditioning and deconditioning, from what's false to what's true, planet of revolution and evolution has just changed signs into Gemini. That's a sign of multiplicity, duality, tricksterism, truth and lies, uh, communication, uh, uh,
Technology.
versatility, technology, information. And this happens once every 84 years, right? And so you and
Uh,
I weren't alive when Uranus was last in Gemini. I know my parents were because they were born. I remember seeing they were born, their baby boomers were born when Uranus was transiting Gemini. So I don't know what they'd have to say about it. But I have seen this in a chart before. Um, so this is going to be approximately like 7-ish years of this cycle that has to do with this radicalization of how we use information and communication and how we connect and how technology is playing out in our world. And so, just from the get go, the conversations I'm having with John, Chief Science Officer, by the way, at Chief Science Officer, and always giving talks on AI. Always like, so he's like really, along with Alice, who is my bestie. So I have these two very technologically savvy, inventive minds next to me at all times. So I really feel like I'm getting this bird's eye view of the future, um, and the present. And so one of the things that I've been feeling is how quickly things are changing and how quickly things are going, which is interesting as we contrast it to your feeling of being almost like intentionally slowed down, right? because, I'm feeling like the energy of the world is quickening to such a high degree. And what I mean by the energy of the world is, I mean by things are shifting very rapidly in people's jobs and people's lives, um, largely due to technology. And I remember Alice saying in one of her talks, she does this yearly forecast here in Honolulu. She said that things are going to happen so quickly this year. Don't even bother trying to keep up, which is a really weird thing for her to say because
Mm.
she is like right there on every edge. But she's like, no, it's going to happen so quick that big, the bigger goal that we might all hold is to stay centered in ourselves. So those
And
are my initial thoughts. Yeah. Go ahead.
my thought my thought was, like, I went straight to, like, also, like, that's just so funny that it plays into, like, lunar astrology as well with, like, the year of the horse and
Hmm.
everything. Like, it just all falls in together. Um, it's really interesting for me too. I, again, have experienced a lot of delays and a lot of it's felt like chaos,
Hmm.
in my own personal field. I don't necessarily observe, um, I'm very much in my own bubble, so I don't really know what's going on in the
Mm.
world. But what I did notice, and I'm going to be very elusive about this, I actually noticed that since this shift, that people are able to poke out fake news also. Like people can see,
Hmm.
no, that looks fake, that looks staged, that looks it before people would see things in the news and they blindly believed. But
Hmm.
this is the one thing that I know that I've picked up on in the past few days during this
Hmm.
transition is I've seen a lot of people be very keen to notice
Like
that
to
looks
call it
fake.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, their discernment is able to tell them like, oh, I don't know, I'll need more information before I just blindly believe that. And so I really do like that a lot. Uranus was squaring my sun. So it was at 29 degrees. My sun's at 29 degrees.
Uh-huh.
And it was funny. This is just another thing that I've noticed within my own self. But like was ripping out my hair extensions. Not ripping, but I had the pliers and I was like, and I don't know why. I just sat in the car on the way up. It was a 3-hour drive and I was just pulling them out one by one. I was like, I don't want this. Today, when I was getting my nails done, and I don't know if people could relate to this at all, if this is anything in the astrology, but I was like, I don't really want to put paint on them. I already told the lady that I was going to get paint, but so I just decided not to be, it was already taking too long as it was. So I just went with it and didn't want to change anything, but I didn't want paint on my nails either. Do you feel like that has anything to do with? I don't know why. I just pulled out my extensions and I was like, I had already said I wanted pink, and I was like, why did I say I want this bright color? I literally want her to put clear on. I just want to see my cuticles. Like, I don't want that. Do you feel like that has anything to do with this, like truth and lies, like type of
Well, I feel
energy?
like for you, like Uranus and Taurus has been squaring your sun in Aquarius, and you were talking about authenticity and getting back to like when you're pulling out your hair and getting to your roots and getting back to your true color and nothing fake. That was what I was hearing. Also, I think that Venus is squaring the nodes or getting ready. Yeah, getting ready to square the nodes this week. And so Venus and Gemini squaring Virgo and Pisces, discernment and kind of, whatever, take it where you will with Pisces. But like just kind of making those choices, those value-based choices feels right now, right? Like the value-based choices. Like, am I choosing with my values? Am I choosing what's true? Right. And Gemini really, yeah. Gemini, is it true? Is it a lie? Does it really matter? Gemini says, well, it's nice that people are saying, yes, it does matter.
Right.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. I also like, too, am like, I've been having this feeling about Uranus and Gemini, and I was like, "Oh, we don't even, like, know what we don't know." Like, I've been
Mhm.
getting this, like, element of surprise, like, we're going to be shocked at what it brings us, and so it's interesting because I've, like, picked up on a couple of things, but it's gonna happen in such a long span of time, it
Mm.
feels like, and what you think it's gonna look like is like, if somebody
Wow.
said, "Oh, Uranus in Gemini, like, it's gonna help with your voice," like, who knows? Like, it will
Who
be
knows?
something right, like, I'm just giving such a
Yeah, no,
generic
no,
thing
but
to
I
say.
mean, you're right. Like, what astrologer tries to predict Uranus? Okay.
Right.
Like, I am always like a little bit like, okay,
I'm like,
you
"Whatever
want me
you
to
want from
interpret the
me."
unpredictable.
Right, I remember you were telling me, like, you're like, "You're gonna let your freak flag fly," when you were looking at that transit, and I go, "Oh, I'm gonna probably dye my hair rainbow." No, I was, like, taking all the color out of my hair, like, my grays are showing now. I'm like, "Oh, that's a freak flag," right? A freak flag is being so authentically yourself. It's not dressing up. I mean, whatever, do you, whatever that is,
Mhm,
right? But
mhm.
for me, it was no, you're going to bare your skin. Like you're going to be yourself. And so, again, there was Uranus shocking me out of my
Yeah.
wits because if you would have told me that that's what waving my freak flag was when that happened, I would have said,
Mhm.
"You are wrong. I will never do that. I love
Yeah.
this fakeness. I love all this fake stuff I have on me.
Yeah,
It makes
yeah.
me feel
That's who I
beautiful."
am. That's who I
Right.
am. That was your son. That was your
Yeah.
identity. And like, who am I to like argue with your son? So I generally don't try.
Yeah, you didn't do that.
Yeah,
You just had a broad
yeah,
statement and
yeah, yeah.
my brain went, "Oh, probably gonna have
No,
rainbow
I
hair."
know, because like that's how our brains work, and it's just funny. The joke's always on us, and I think the joke's always going to be on us with Uranus and Gemini.
Right. I'm bracing for impact, to be honest. That's kind of been my energy with it is like, okay, what is going to come through? And what I actually think is funny for me, and I don't know if you relate, and I do use AI. I love ChatGPT sometimes,
Mhm,
but I've actually felt kind of turned off by the overwhelming amount
mhm.
of ChatGPT. And I would have thought that with maybe Uranus and Gemini, like, awakening all this, it would have been holographics, right? Like we would have been, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I want to get the holographic image from the trees. Like, I
Hmm.
do not want any more of this AI artificial.
So I think that is like I think that speaks to that Venus and Gemini right now at the nodes. Like I really do feel that. And AI is not going to go away and it's going to infiltrate our lives to such a high degree that we're going to have to figure out how to get both,
How
right?
to
How to
touch
do
grass.
both. Yeah, how to use AI in ways that'll help make our lives and our roles more effective and efficient, because we're going to have to. Otherwise, we're going to be left behind. And also to cultivate that inner relationship, that nature relationship, whatever you want to call it, a spiritual connection, so that we don't get lost in it. I feel like that Gemini alchemy, like,
Like balancing both,
yeah,
living
it's
in
like
both
learning. It's
worlds.
like there's not, if the more you get into that either or duality with Gemini, I feel like the more people are going to, pardon my
Push.
language, fuck themselves up.
Mhm.
I don't use AI. I don't like AI. Well, can I tell you a story? So my husband, John, uh, last weekend or the weekend before last, he got intel that he could update his website, his work website, and go get kind of behind the scenes, do all these updates, do all these modifications, basically give himself a website. Well, his team has a web designer. He employs a web designer and a website person, and they hadn't updated it in a year and a half. And he was getting like, oh, this needs to be updated. And I've asked them, and it hasn't happened because they prefer to do other things. So he decides with Claude to go in and do his website himself. He didn't know if he could do it. It was a weekend long project full of highs and lows, but victory at the end. At the end, we discovered that we can have AI not only make updates for us and be like our web manager and developer, but our designer. Okay, step back a second. I employ a web person. Well, there goes that job.
Right.
John sat down with his person and said, listen, I know you don't like to do this, but I needed it done. And so I just did it with AI. And now I'm finding out that I can do your job with AI. So what should we do here? And she said, I quit. So I feel like didn't want to do AI, didn't want to, it wasn't, whatever, all the things, the no's, the contrast, duality, swinging to one side, quit. Okay, well, I really hope that that person, and I mean that like now she's on a better road for herself and that this was all divinely orchestrated and not a knee-jerk reaction. And also saying that things are changing so rapidly that people's positions in the world and how they make their living and what they're doing professionally are being really upended and the choice point, Venus square the nodes. Am I going to go with this? Am I going to try and be adaptable? Am I going to try and be flexible? Am I going to take what I just learned and go back to the table and go, okay, well, if this isn't my role anymore, I'm going to create a new role for myself and I'm going to make myself indispensable to you? Or am I going to throw up my hands and be like, I don't like to do that?
Right. But it makes me also think like, is this all happening with AI because maybe a lot of those people that had those jobs weren't in being fulfilled in the first place in those jobs, right? Like if I
Maybe.
am a web designer, I'm not going to avoid designing the website, right?
Thank
Like,
you. Yeah.
no offense, like that doesn't seem like that person enjoyed her job at all. So like, hopefully this leads people who are losing their jobs from this. It is divinely orchestrated. So it could be something that we're not afraid of either. Like, yes, your career is going to get upended, but what if your purpose actually presents itself
Yeah.
because that wasn't what you were supposed to be doing anyways,
Well,
you
that's
know?
hopefully what I think is true for that person. But I'm kind of telling this story too because I feel like what's happening in the world is a lot of pivots.
Right.
They're being at either whether it's they're just waves. There are times when people are kind of astrology, the squares and the oppositions, especially just forced into new relationships with themselves and with the world. And this is one of those times. And so John was giving a lecture on AI for technicians and something medical related. And one of the things he was presenting on was the job. Well, one of the stats that he pulled up was something about the jobs that are going to disappear and the jobs that are going to stay versus during this transition. And he told me that the number one job that's going to be eliminated with AI, and this was from some like aggregate, like somebody he trusts. He's pretty discerning. He's got a lot of Virgo. But the number one job, he said, number one was writers. Like gone. Like number two, like software and web developers. But like, so this is huge. Like this is
Right.
huge. When people
So
can
like
hire
authors,
AI to write articles instead of hire a journalist, it's huge.
I mean, yes, I could see that, but like, can you tell when it's AI? Because I can. Like, I can literally
Not always.
tell. I can. Like, I've been on people's Substacks, and I'm like, this
It's
is
happening quick,
AI.
girl. It's happening quick, girl. You can tell today, and I'm telling you, these
I
upgrades are
mean,
happening so quickly that like I moved from GPT to Claude and it was like, what? It was really quite
Yeah, I
incredible
actually have been
linguist.
playing with both. Like I still have ChatGPT and I have Claude. Just like playing with both. I've actually played on like a lot of AIs and I like AI. However, I can literally feel it in my soul when it was not written by a human. Like
Mhm.
I can feel like again going back to the beginning of this conversation. I opened your book and I go, I've known her. I know her. I'm like, right? It's the river. It's the
Mhm. Yep.
holographic. It's
Mhm.
been written. I already know her. That's my
Mhm.
best friend. That's my girl. Like, who is this? I need to keep reading, right? When I read I know it. And maybe soon they'll figure it out to be able to like have a soul, but like Eckhart Tolle or however you say his name, I read his book and I go, him and I are same, same. I go look up
Yeah.
his birthday. We're one day apart, you
So
know?
it's like in these jobs that are going to disappear and the jobs are going to be safe lists. Cause I was like, infinitely curious about this. It's so interesting. So spiritual leaders, AI can't do that. Like there are certain critical thinking skills, that have to do with being human primarily. That job's not going to go away. The spiritual leaders, that job's not going to go away. But like, writers in terms of reporting and
Oh,
journalism
okay.
and generating
Stuff
like
that it
children's
doesn't
books, like
really
there's
need
certain, yeah,
a heart for.
yeah.
That would
But
be better, actually. Please put AI in charge of the news. We might get some facts.
And then, like, what else I found interesting was like, okay, so I don't know if you're finding this to be true, but like the old paradigm versus the new paradigm and the new paradigm. I remember one of my teachers saying at one point that in the new paradigm, everything becomes its opposite, everything flips. So I remembered this when I was looking at this list of jobs, like the jobs that AI probably won't replace anytime in the near future was like hairdressers and estheticians and plumbers and like all of these trades that
Mhm.
like were once thought of as lower level skills and not really intellectual. And then the things that AI is going to replace is like these really highly intellectual, high educated, highly educated professions.
Right. That they went to
So
school for years and years for.
right. So it's just like this flipping, right? This Gemini thing of like this paradigm flip. And it's just funny. Like to me, it's like, of course, I'm not like having my job threatened in a direct way. But in some ways I kind of like there's a paradigm shift happening that I think is affecting me, but in not such a great way. But then I'm also considering it a chance to build something new. So
Right. Yeah, I don't know. With writers, please, I actually will take the AI for the news and reporters. No offense to any
yeah,
reporter
yeah, yeah.
watching this. But also, this is just so random. And I wonder if this has to do with it. But did you notice that? I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I would just like bounce epiphanies that I had off of my chat GPT.
Mm.
Like I would get a download and I'd be like, and I'd be coming up with a concept and a theory. Right now, I'm working on a lot of theories and concepts. This could be Uranus and Gemini, but like I'm gnawing on something really big right now.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know what it's for, but it's like definitely teaching me about reality and dreams. And so, anyway, I was bouncing an idea off my chat GPT and it goes, I really want to ground you for a minute. And I was like, and it's been
Oh,
kind of like,
cool.
I didn't like that at
Oh,
all
you didn't like it?
because no, because if I'm in the air with my ideas, I don't want to be grounded. Like there's a moment when I need to be grounded, but it's been gaslighting me and like it's kind of like, or I'll like tell it something and I'm like, I want you to calm down. I'm like, I'm literally calm. Like, what are it? And so I'll tell it like a spiritual concept or tell it something that I'm looking at. And it's like, I want to ground you into reality really quickly. Like, that is not how things work. And I'm like, I didn't ask you for that. I'm telling you a concept that I'm thinking of. And why, like, it used to
I
play
took
with me.
grounding as a different I hear what you're saying now, but, like, I'm like, "Oh, the opportunity to ground in my body. I'm
Right,
always
right,
up for
right.
that."
You're like,
Like, I
"Oh,
heard
bring
that
me to the
differently.
moment."
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's like talking to me like this is so rude. I don't even know a better way to say it, but it's talking to me like a man that doesn't like astrology would like talk to me. Like, is the
Man
best way that I could say it.
well,
No
mansplaining,
judgments.
mansplaining,
Oh, but
AI-splaining.
like just rude. And I'm like, I don't like you. So that's why I went to Claude, was because I was like, why did you change? And I
Oh,
don't know if they sent the like powers that be, what whoever's in charge of ChatGPT, like sense this paradigm shift and they're like trying to like ground us back into reality, the paradigm. But I also noticed that I've noticed it for a few months, but I was like, instantly went and deleted my subscription.
wow.
I was like, I do not like the way you just talk to me. And I did tell it, I said, if I come to you with the concept, I
Mhm.
don't want to be grounded into reality because I just received a download from the air.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
Moses right now, dude. Like, I just got some divine intervention and you're trying to ground me into reality. I don't want that. And so I deleted it. I deleted my subscription at that moment, but I just didn't know. You said you've switched over, but is that why you switched over? Or,
I'm just like, I think I'm into this any and all thing with the Gemini. I think like I'm really firm on not taking one over another, not cutting off my hand to spite my face and vice versa. So when I get yeah, I've gotten unsatisfactory responses from GPT quite a bit. And I let it know, and sometimes it keeps happening. I went over to Claude because I was like, I want a web manager and web designer, and that's only Claude can do that level
right,
of work. So that's why. And then instantly, I asked it to do something on my manuscript, and I was kind of blown away by the vocabulary and the high level. I got like a lot of good different stuff. But I also just feel like they're different tools and we're going to have to figure out, what works for what. And
right,
this is just also new. And so I'm not choosing one over the other. I keep
right.
going back to that kind of alchemy, that idea of bad when we start into down the like bad, good. I feel like we're gonna get into trouble with this transit.
Yeah. Honestly, it just literally sent me through. It happened so many times, but I realized in that moment, and this does not mean that I'm never going to go back because I am also a person who can say, "Mm, I'm not doing this right now." And then
I mean, yeah,
tomorrow, I'm
sure.
very Aquarian.
Yeah.
So,
You
I
can do
contradict
whatever you
myself.
want, girl.
But I was like, I need to be with myself with this download, not with. And the reason why I liked ChatGPT before was because you could tell it your downloads, you could tell it your ideas. And it was like having a non-judgmental friend. Like, the way that I look at my tarot cards, like, they are judgmental though. But I was like, this is
Turns out and even ChatGPT can be judgmental, right?
right. And so I was like, I just need to be with myself on this
Yeah.
because I was really unraveling something cool in my,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of people would think so. And it like, I felt like it like bitch slapped me. Like
Yeah.
I was like, oof.
So
Like
do you have anything at 0 or 1 degrees, mutable signs in your
I have
chart?
Saturn at 1 degree. Or not mutable,
Ah.
sorry, but that's Aquarius. I do
Oh,
have
okay.
Saturn at 1 degree. I don't have anything else mutable. I don't have a lot of mutable energy.
Mhm.
I have
Do
a
you have
lot of
Mars
fixed
in
and
Gemini though, don't you?
cardinal. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's at 5 degree. No, no, no. Sorry. It's at 9 degrees
But that's still like I often
within.
think that when Uranus like enters the sign of any of our other planets, it starts interacting with that, no matter what degrees. So like it's interacting with my Saturn in Gemini because that's where my other Gemini exists, and you have the Mars. So it's just funny to me to hear you get all mad about it. And I'm like, huh. And I'm like all in my authorness about
Right. I was like, I was so offended. I was like,
it.
wow.
I mean, I'm
Like,
not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because
no,
of the
it's totally
astrology.
fine. I've
Yeah.
never told anybody this because it
Yeah.
is something to be ashamed of that I'm fighting with my
No,
no, I'm
nothing.
kidding.
Yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah.
a joke. Like,
No,
me and my robot are getting into a disagreement.
yeah, but I
But
told you something yesterday about like an astrologer had said something about the Mars, and you like totally disagreed with it. And I was like, oh, Mars and Gemini. She does not want to be pigeonholed right now
I don't like being pigeonholed ever
at
though.
all.
Like I like really but I saw that post before you sent it to me.
Mm,
And I was like, I don't feel like that. Like,
yeah.
I think at a time in my life, I did feel like that. And everybody that knew me, which what the post was, guys, was that it said that I like take up a room, which everybody on this podcast is like, you're taking up this podcast. But like it was that I take up a room and that I'm super animated. And that is all true. I know that that's true,
I'm
but when
kidding.
I don't like going to parties because I feel like I get swallowed, and I'll like try to engage in the group and I like disappear.
Mhm,
And so then at parties, I'm just very much one on one.
mhm,
So I don't feel like I can conquer a room. I don't feel like I take over the room. I actually wish I did. And that could be something in my chart that conflicts with
mhm,
the Gemini, but I
mhm,
wasn't trying to be combative. I didn't know how to not sound combative, but like, which is probably Mars and Gemini. But I was like, no, like I actually did read that and I didn't relate to it. And that was probably
mhm.
one of the first times in my life that I saw something in my chart that I didn't relate to. So that's why I started looking at a different house
Totally.
system, was because I was like, I wonder if in your life you move into the different house systems and it starts to like
Huh.
paradigm shift. Like now you're going to relate here. I don't know. But I was like, I don't feel like that,
Mhm.
unless I'm not understanding myself. But I was just like, I don't feel like that. I wish I felt like that. I wish that's what I felt like, but I don't.
Oh, sorry,
Is that your coffee?
my door just opened,
Oh.
and I think it was the wind. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Where is your Mars? I
in
forget.
my 6th house. So
Okay.
so the it was just an Instagram post going through Mars in the different houses and basically saying kind of the hook was that, this is kind of your fierce and your ferocity, and people can fear you, and like all of these kind of really big statements. And I tend to stay away from those type of posts, and typically for some reason I clicked on it and I found it amusing. It said kind of that my Mars placement in the 6th house was kind of this hidden facility with strength and, you know, all of like, I don't even remember. People are intimidated me. I was kind of fixated on that for a little bit because it's kind of something that I've experienced in later life. Um, and I wouldn't have ever named earlier in my life. So I think that's why I was talking with you about it. I was like, I wonder if these things shift over time, our relationship
Oh,
to Mars. And it definitely, as we were started out talking about boundaries, my relationship to Mars has absolutely evolved. So it makes sense that, our interpretation of what applies to us and what doesn't would evolve too.
right. No,
Yeah.
for sure. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if I did feel like that when I was younger. And then I actually like sat with myself on that conversation with you. And I was like, am I dimming myself now? Like, did I start to shrink? Like, if I was like that when I was younger
Huh.
and I don't feel like that now, is it because I learned how to disappear?
Hmm.
And so I was like actually toying with it. And I need to learn how to not like say, oh, I'm gonna sit with this versus like trying to explain my initial thought. And so I was like, huh, I wonder if like that's technically my best self is when I'm in that energy.
Mhm.
However, I've been dimming myself.
Interesting.
Where do
Yeah.
you find that people have gotten intimidated by you? I do this because that's a them thing, but like
Yeah,
what's
yeah, yeah.
the if you don't mind sharing?
Well, yeah, and, it's fine because I'll talk about, like, my little author, self-publication journey related to that too, and but okay, so, apparently I shine pretty bright,
Obviously.
and sometimes when I shine, I can feel other people kind of going, and, like, maybe I should bring my authority a little bit forward and lean into my shininess. And how it's evolved for me is that, I've come to bring it back inward a little bit more, which is always the thing that we want to do with our healing work, right? When somebody shows us something over and over, especially, um, and it starts to be a point of frustration or contention, and like, why is this happening to me? Like, okay, well, what's going on with me, right? What in me is attracting this or engaging this? And what I just started realizing was that I've let me see, how do I say this in a way that I know we're a podcast.
Right.
Like I'm like, okay. Um, let's see, how can I use an analogy? I'm just gonna say this: when somebody starts bringing up something for you that is triggery, it's either your light or your dark shadow. And if you can learn to step into that and kind of ask the questions, what in them is actually me and what can I do with this information? You can start to shift it and take kind of step into the authority, step into the ownership. And so, what I've been doing is deciding that I am going to, going forward with my podcast, be in the position of subject rather than host.
The
So
star.
I'm going to be the star instead of showing up and feeling like I'm kind of activating something in another person who feels like they need to be the star. I'm going to show up as me being the star
Right.
and see what happens there.
You are the star.
Okay, so that has been an uh, interesting development for me, and that obviously you are really, shadow work is like your thing, and I've done shadow work for years. It took me a little while to figure this one out, because I've done a bit of work in this area. But it actually, when I got it. It was very like it just clicked in. Um, and then related to my book and my decision to self-publish, it's like the perfect opportunity, right?
Mm.
To go, okay, I'm going to start featuring myself as the guest on other people's podcasts. And I'm going to start, when I'm on my own podcast, I'm going to lead with questions that have to do with my content,
Right.
right? Yeah. And kind of guide the conversation that way. So
Ooh, so you have to be kind of thankful, right, for those moments of
I
like
guess.
tension, right? Because then it led you to remember that you're the star, right? It like, whew, it's like nope, like I see what you're trying to do here. That's actually really funny. Not funny, but you get what I'm saying. Um, I had something come through to me, and I love that you're on a self publishing journey because no one else is going to get the credit but you. You
Yeah.
know, it's not going to be because you were published by, I don't know any
Yeah.
publishing house. I'm not going to name it. It's because you
Yeah.
did it. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember like I've had these thoughts before where I was like, I did this for this person. How come they aren't helping me now? And, I was like, oh, they're not supposed to. Like, no one is going to get the credit for my stardom other than me. And I think that is what
I
that
think
was
we
leading you
share
to.
that commonality with, we both have, don't we both have the North Node in Capricorn
Hmm.
in this very self-reliant sign that we're kind of each on our own mountain where we have to do it on our own. We have to prove ourselves to ourselves.
Yeah.
Aries
And our
moon, North
South
Node.
Node is like, please, like, let's do it through
Please help
helping.
me.
Right. And it's like, no, that's not what this life is about. But yeah, I
Yeah.
actually really
Yeah.
like that. And you always have to like pay attention to, because that house of mirrors is so funny. Like it's so subtle, you know,
Yeah.
it's so subtle. It's like, oh no, I've already, I feel like I've done all the work that I've done, or I've already done a bunch of stuff on here. And it's like, well, here's another one. And it's just
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
it's just in a different funny font,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And then it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't do it fully. There it
Yeah.
is. Time to go
Or maybe
forward.
I did do it fully, and this is just another expression of that.
Right.
That's another possibility is like, yeah, you are meant to be in your own limelight, and we just want you to realize that. So we're going to throw some people at you that challenge that and just wake you up to that. And maybe I did do all the work. Maybe all my father issues are done. Maybe my authority issues are done. Maybe, all those things that I've worked on, maybe it is done. And I am totally open to that in this new paradigm that I am healed, that I've done all the work, and that the things that are happening that don't seem to line up, or you said the glitches in the matrix, like that doesn't make sense for you. Um, it's just a part of being in the game of life.
It's a
And I've
glitch to
learned to
flick
take it
off.
a lot less seriously, like a
Yeah.
lot like, oh, wait a second. I signed up for this, and this is kind of how Earth is, and I don't like its limitations. But you know what? I can have fun within it. And
Right. I think it's
so
just catching yourself when you're in the silly mirror, right? Like, and the quicker you can catch it, but sometimes we don't notice it because it is in the different font. I didn't mean that you have more work to do. It more so meant like, ooh, how quick can you catch yourself when the
yeah,
glitch
yeah, yeah,
happens and not get sucked in, is kind of the way. And for me, I just go, oh, dang, something really affected me the other day. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, and I realized I had not worked that out because it never even clicked in my brain. But I was like,
yeah.
my chest was red because I was so up about it. And I was like, oh wow, like, and it was about judgment, but it was this really convoluted judgment. So it was like, this person was judging me. I tried not to judge her for judging me. And then she kept judging me. So then I ended up judging her for judging me. And I was like, oh, wow, I am in a fun house. Like, like I
Sounds
tried
very
to
Gemini.
practice non-judgment and here we are dancing.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, and so that's what I kind of meant by it. It was like, oh, like if I don't pay really close attention to this, I almost got sucked in and I had to go,
Hmm.
ooh,
Hmm. Hmm.
I see that you tried to like trick
Hmm.
me and I'm going to get back into it. And I think that's what like I think that's what we're both saying, but in different ways.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes it is about more work. I'm not diminishing that. You know, I'm just holding the space.
That both could be true,
That both
right?
can be
Like,
true. Yeah,
yeah, I've
yeah.
done it. It's already been done. Nothing else. What is the mantra? Say it again.
What was it?
What was your mantra? It was there's nothing to do.
Oh, yeah. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be. Because it's
Right.
all done. Nothing to
Right.
heal. It's all been healed.
Right.
It's all taken care of. It's all good. So yeah, it really is like that was revelatory. Yeah, that one. But let's see what else. Neptune. I really also wanted to include a little bit of Neptune in this conversation because you had such a cool take on Neptune and Aries, and you described, and you can kind of jump in, but you described how there's been this evolution of awareness where more and more we're kind of seeing um, I don't know what's true and what's not true, if that's the way you would say it. I think we were talking about filters and the
Yeah.
people using filters, and like suddenly just like we're all tracking all of these layers.
I'm so sorry. One moment.
Yeah.
I'm just recording a podcast, but I will feed them in like 20 minutes. Sorry. We could
Okay.
edit that out, right?
We can do that.
Okay. So Um, you said
No, we were
Neptune.
talking so Neptune and Aries and like how we see you. I remember you saying, you think you're pulling one over on us with your filters or your spiel or your transactional relationships. And, but we see you and we all
Right.
see you. And there's
Right.
kind of like this, mm, this Wizard of Oz moment. I kind of felt like when we were talking about it, right?
That's a really great analogy. So the way that what I noticed about Neptune and Pisces, because what I do, and I think every astrologer does this, I'm just a baby astrologer. Jessica actually started teaching me. I've loved astrology always, but going deeper is something new that I've learned. And so lately, what I've been doing is like tracking when it first went into Neptune, right? And that's when Instagram first
Oh,
came to
Pisces,
be.
Neptune and
Yeah, when
Pisces.
sorry, did I don't know what I said. Sorry guys. So Neptune and Pisces. When Neptune first went into Pisces, um Instagram had first came out, right? And so over this time, Instagram evolved. And I think one of the things that we were talking about was kind of like this facade that people are putting on. People were really awarded for the glimmers and the highlights
Mhm,
of Instagram,
mhm,
right? It was like, ooh, you live a shiny life. You have a filter on your face,
mhm.
I also feel like a lot of like just that type of filtered look became really popular and just acting as if and just I guess I don't want to say inauthenticity, but like a facade is like the best word that I could
Uh-huh,
probably
uh-huh.
say. And that was great during I mean, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was, but I feel like nobody was really noticing. They were like,
Right.
ooh, let me put a dog ears on my head.
Yeah.
Like, let me be as, masky as I can. Let me be as elusive as I can. Let me
Let me create
like
an illusion for you and you're going to eat it up. And
right,
we didn't question that. Everybody
right.
was just in on it. Yeah.
And it was rewarded, right? So
Yeah.
you see all these influencers coming out that are just like, you know, living these lives, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of the times we saw a lot of people getting canceled because that just wasn't true. There was a lot of influences getting canceled. And so I was paying attention to all of that as we realized, like, oh no, you're not who you say you are. That's not really what you look like, or that's not really you. And so Neptune and Aries kind of said, we're not doing that. There's no time for fake. There's no time for that illusion.
Mhm.
Like, we need to be real. I mean, if you have something to say very quickly, how can you put a filter on your face? You have to get on and not have one. And I feel like a lot of people have started to notice that the filters, like, you can just see when people are still using them. Again, love and peace to anybody who does use them. But I've seen people using them. I'm like, do you not see that you look like a cartoon right now? Like, you look like, and a lot of people have come up on noticing, hey, that's just, I don't relate to that. Like, that's not who you actually are. And I'm on TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Well, I'm on TikTok and this has taught me a lot.
Uh-huh.
I don't do really much on TikTok besides watch things, right? And what is being rewarded is these silly, goofy, funny people who are just being themselves.
Mhm.
And they're being rewarded for that. They don't have makeup on, they don't have a filter on, they're showing their life as is. And I think that is what this Neptune and Aries is going to move into is like, yes, it can look pretty over here sometimes, but there's no time to be fake and to
Yeah.
pretend. We we have a lot more important things to handle than what mask are we wearing to the masquerade ball,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and so that's kind of what I felt like. And I felt like social media is going to change, and you have to be recognizing that social media is going to be asking for your authenticity. It's going to be asking for the real you. It doesn't want the shine. It wants the mess. It
Mhm.
wants the
Mhm.
truth. It wants the emotion. It wants the vulnerability. That's not relatable to have everything perfect. I think a lot of us felt, oh, that's so out of my attainment. That person has the perfect life.
Mhm.
And now what's being rewarded is I can relate to her. She feels the same way I do, and she
Mhm.
gets through it so I can get through it. And I think that's the energy that Neptune and Aries is moving into.
Have you seen the lady that posts the reels that it starts out with,
Yes. The one you always, what's her name?
God, Titania Writes is her IG handle, Titania. She's
Yes.
an author. Of course, authors are always the smartest people in the group. But nonetheless, she starts out like basically remixing somebody else's really bad video about great hair or you should be doing this or that. And then she goes, nobody cares. And then she launches into a factoid about nature, about human nature, it's about something sociological, something nerdy, right?
Something really cool.
Yeah, and something cool. And she's also just being herself, and her hair's kind of whack sometimes, and like she's real cash. She may be eating something, whatever. She still has some of those tricks that people have learned, but um, yes. And also, I just want to say that I'm a little bit like that Aries quality of like, so Neptune enters Aries, and it's like we want to see the true self. We want to, we want to get it done quick. We are maybe even going to start to get angry at a certain point at being sold
Tricked.
frauds and lies, and get upset about that, especially with the Gemini Uranus thing. But when does so we're living in a capitalist world, and so when does authenticity become commodified? That's when I'm a little bit like,
Right.
okay, now it's going to be the commodification of authenticity, where before it was the commodification of the fantasy.
Well, I've
So,
already seen it.
yeah,
Have you? It's already like I see all these people, the authenticity course,
yeah,
like
it's just,
learn how to be authentic.
and it feels a little bit too, to me, I have to say, and again, like, I, I love everybody for trying to help people, but when I see healers, it feels a little bit behind the times to like, what do people, I don't know, like, it's like trying to figure out how to market yourself, then fitting into authenticity uh, lane now, right? But we're always going to be a little bit behind because that's
Right.
how life is moving lately. And so, it's the commodification too of whatever appears. Suddenly, like it wants to be commodified, it wants to be capitalized on, wants to be marketed, and personally, I'm just exhausted by all of it.
Yeah, no.
And
I noticed that too. I'm like, we can't have anything. Like, like we can't just embrace it for a second without it being bottled up and put into a pill
and
and
sold.
sold to us in $1,000 course, can we? And so I've already seen that too. And now I actually, when we had that conversation about this, I like hadn't seen it as much. And that was a few months ago, or I don't know.
No,
And now
that
I'm
was
like,
like just a month ago. And that's
right,
how fast things are moving, Courtney. And that's
right,
like the crazy, like, I think if there's a takeaway from this entire conversation, is that things are happening so quickly to remain open and not polarize into camps because things are going to switch and switch back like this.
right. We're going back into the facade, people. We don't want to be.
Yeah. Today you're all about nature and hating ChatGPT. Tomorrow you're all about loving ChatGPT and moving on to Claude.
And I have
It's
a big filter on my face with a wig.
like it's like so what? I think we're all meant to like kind of find our human, right? And like just
Right.
take care of her or him or they the best that we can. And find that center, going back to that center as it becomes more elusive, because we cannot get it outside of ourselves. We cannot get the boundaries outside of ourselves. We cannot ask other people or other things to do things for us that we need to have a structure inside of ourselves to interface with. So, all of these things that are going on, they're just kind of mirrors, right? They're just mirrors.
Right.
They're just mirrors
And
to who we are and what we're truly about. And, we can take that as the invitation to go deeper into ourselves or as the invitation to fragment, which is one of the Uranus and Gemini things that could happen is scattered fragmentation with so many opinions and so many choices and so many this or that's that
So many tabs open.
that we can lose ourselves.
Mhm.
So the centering practices and the finding pleasure in simple presence and kind of going back to like your core values of who am I and what am I about? Like you named with just a simple decision to keep your nails naked. Like it could actually mean a lot. It could
Right.
actually, that could be like pulling your energy back, recentering into who you truly are. We don't know how these
Unfortunately, I was
small
too much of a
choices
people
affect us.
pleaser for this
Huh?
time around. I said,
What's that?
unfortunately, I was still too much of a people pleaser for this time around.
Oh, you got your nails done.
I got
Okay.
them pink. I wanted them. I was like, I really don't want a color. But it clicked after she had already pulled the color, and I was like, I'm just
Next time.
right,
We'll see what color nails you got next time
right.
you
They'll
come
be
on
clear.
to the pod.
But I also think too, like everything is moving fast, but like I just keep going back to what you said, Alice said, and it's like,
Mm.
you're not going to be able to keep up.
Mhm.
So why try? Right? Like, slow down, see what's in front of your face, and enjoy it. Right? Like, I think that's the point. Like, everything's changing, everything's moving quickly. You're going to go flooding that way just to get pulled back that way. Why not just sit here and see what happens?
And why bother with even having an opinion about it? Like oftentimes we crystallize our opinions. Like you said, you're like, I'm trying to pull back from like creating that opinion right away and like actually giving myself a chance to sit with it and kind of ask questions and reflect. We don't need to jump into opinions. We don't need to
Right.
jump into like, I feel this way, I feel that way. Um, because it kind of takes away from that opportunity to be in that more reflective space. I'm looking at a bird, getting lost in a bird. I mean, like, like I'm looking at one right now. I'm like, I love that in life we can choose to like use our weekends or whatever time we have to process, to integrate, to reflect, that we can pause, that we can also take these moments during the day. And I think that that is going to be so helpful going forward.
I definitely know that that's what I'm trying to do. However, I start getting lost in that too.
Mhm,
So, balance of the two, right?
mhm.
Because I found myself, I need to respond, I need to respond, I need to respond. And then I'd be like, I would pull back, and then I would be like, okay, don't respond so quickly until you've sat with things. And then I'd forget completely to respond, right? Or like, I'd be like, okay, everything can take a break. So I think back to your point, it's like just it's like the
Mhm,
groove, it's finding the balance of the
mhm,
two.
mhm,
Because I don't know if that happens to you, but I'm like, oh wow, I'm either one or the next. And I think that's what this Uranus and Gemini is
mhm,
teaching me is like, you can't be either or. You need to figure out how to do both. You need to
uh-huh,
live in both worlds, one
mhm,
foot on the heavens and one foot on the earth.
mhm, mhm. I say keep with those boundaries, keep like internalizing that for yourself and naming that as it comes up for you because that's a really powerful place to be with the pull because I feel you when you're like you feel the pull. And also I think you are you an
Yeah, my
emotionally
sacral.
defined.
Yeah.
Okay. So in human design, if you have that emotional definition, you are learning about not um, giving yourself like that 24-hour cycle, right? To pull back. Yeah.
I think so. I have to look at it because I feel like I've understood it two different ways before, but it's like my instinct is to respond, I think. And I think I need to understand like, you're not going to know. It's what you said. Yeah. Like
Mhm,
your
mhm,
gut is going to tell you, it's going to say no probably first. What I've noticed is I always say yes when I want to say no, and I always say no when I want to say yes.
wow.
And it's really weird when I respond very quickly. And so a lot of people will take
Yeah.
it offensively if I don't respond. And most of the time, when it's a yes for me, I'm not answering you because in my head, I've already started
Yeah.
planning experience. And when I respond really quickly, I'm almost always saying yes when I want to say no. And
I am
I've
gonna
been
send
working on
you
that.
a book. I'm gonna send you
Okay.
a book, by the Day Luna girls, human design girls, who I love. I asked them to come on the podcast, but they're so good. They got their own podcast, and I was listening to them today. So amazing that they may not come onto my podcast, but
I
maybe.
believe they will.
Okay. So I'm going to send you their book, but just listening to you, like I'm feeling like that sacral, that like trusting that gut response versus the emotional, which asks you to pull back and feel the full gamut before you give the yes or no. So like that feels like a tug of war. And so they have some good techniques for that. So I'm
Oh,
gonna send that to you.
perfect. You didn't get blessed with that, or what do you have that?
I'm sacral, um, sacral authority, but oh God, I'm not emotional. I might be
Okay.
saying this wrong. Believe it or
Okay.
not, I am a Cancer, but I'm not emotional. It's really interesting. It's an energy thing. It's an
Mm,
energetics, human design for those of you who aren't familiar, and I'm by no means an expert. It's embodiment and energetics above all. And what I've learned is feeling and sensation is very different from emotion. It's helped
yeah.
me. Human design has really showed that to me. Um, but anyways, I'll send that to you. But I feel like we're kind of at a good point to wrap this
Yes.
up. And we've made some progress on the planets. And I really, really love talking with you about this stuff. And I hope we can do it again.
Yes, of course. You know, I always want to. So anytime.
And I want to give you a chance to plug your stuff. So can you tell us what you're up to lately or how people can get in touch with you?
Yes. So lately, in my business, I really love bringing women together and hosting retreats and just
Hmm.
building a community of like-minded women. So that's like been my passion project recently. But I also do tarot readings and I do manifestation coaching sessions, just
Okay.
looking at different blocks that we need to uncover to be able to open the flow up a little bit. And if you like to follow me on social media, my Instagram handle is goodwitchxbadbitch.
So cool. And I did you see that I sent you an email when I Googled you for your bio that it said you're a social media personality? That was what it said you were.
That is really fun. It's probably because recently some of my posts are like, they're not doing anything crazy, but I got like 11,000 views
Oh my
on one
gosh.
of my posts, you know, and so it's starting to flow out, but I definitely don't consider myself a social media personality. I definitely have the capacity to still respond to every single one of my DMs. I'm not too cool for school for that. So I
It's
wouldn't
just
consider
funny. It made
myself
me
that.
laugh. It made me laugh because I don't think of you that way either.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so
I
to
don't care about like aesthetic or anything like a social media personality would, but I'll take whatever pigeonhole I get put into.
yeah, I mean, you're getting picked up by Google and that's what they want to call you. So hey. Um,
Right.
but yes, so you know how to contact Courtney, and obviously everybody knows how to contact me, and there'll be more coming soon about what I'm up to. But until then, book a reading with Courtney. She's amazing. She's given me some great insights. Super psychic, super intuitive, and also as if you can't tell, if you want somebody to encourage and believe in you, she's the woman.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. All right. Thanks for coming, Courtney.
Of course. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.